Don't you know drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere. You can't stop it. Criminal want to make a pop in a bowl and so it's longevity. Drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere.
Hey, Murph here. I'm a former heroin addict, current alcoholic, and you're tuned into Self-Medicated Weekly Dose, a podcast all about drugs and the people who use them. As always, this program is inspired by the harm reduction movement, informed by my personal experience using all sorts of drugs for damn near 30 years, and enlightened by my special guests. Today, I'm joined by a dear friend. He's an incredibly talented and hilarious writer-performer who's not only played a character credited as Crackhead on 3 different television shows, he also once accidentally ate so much of a chocolate edible that he became convinced the Hollywood Bowl was about to be blown up by a terrorist bombing. Please welcome to the program, Lucas Hazlett.
Hello! Oh, my God.
Okay, all right, folks. All right, settle down.
Always a pleasure.
How are you feeling?
Look, you caught me on the other side of the tunnel. And I don't know if this is the metaphor they use for recovery or for manic episodes, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and you've just come out. The light's a little bewildering, to borrow from Plato's allegory of the sun and the allegory of the cave. So I'm still in that bewildered, I'm out of it stage. That's where my mind is at right now.
All right. Well, for the listeners, what Lucas is describing here is he's a man about town. He's sold a few television shows, over the years. But he's recently working on a project. We can't name the network specifically, but you recently sold a show that's a semi-autobiographical story about homelessness in Los Angeles. And it sounds like you're likening that process to the addiction recovery process. And I can only speak from my perspective, but heroin withdrawal, was pukes, quakes, shakes, shits, trots, sweats, every other goddamn thing that goes along with opioid withdrawal. So you're likening that to, dealing with network executives when pitching and selling and working on a television show. So there's a little peek inside our industry. I'll buy that for $1. All right. Well, there's a lot to dive into here.
Let's dive.
There's some fun stuff. And we're going to kick things off. We'll get right into it with the substance report.
This is the question. Do junkies' lives matter?
Now, we all know the mainstream media's narrative on substance use is complete trash. So we're going to take a look at the top drug-related stories in the news and give them some proper coverage.
Okay.
Now, you probably heard about this one. It was bounced around a little bit, so maybe you've heard about it. But let's take a look. This one, our article this week comes from CNN. Mm-hmm. And the headline says, Biden pardons all federal offenses of simple marijuana possession in first major steps towards decriminalization.
Sure.
So huge if true.
Yeah.
But I have thoughts, as you well know.
Well, here's what you're going to get from me today. Pure centrist drivel. Okay?
Please, we need it because my anarcho-communist rants are going to wear thin on people after a while. They need a goddamn point.
You're going to get
counterpoint or something.
I love being dead center, but I'm spinning. Let's put it that way. I'm in the eye of the storm politically. First off, right out the gate, that sounds exactly like what people have been fucking fighting for on the side of criminal justice reform, because no one should be in prison for what now is recreational. Everyone does it from
absolutely everyone.
Yes.
Everyone I know.
When the former Speaker of the House's new business is weed, we've moved. We've shifted.
I just want to say, before getting into the this is cartoonishly too little, too late kind of thing of this is ridiculous, as I don't want to minimize for anyone that this even helps in the slightest bit, in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Any single person who gets out of jail on a bullshit drug charge is an applaudable fucking thing.
Yes. So the problem with this is there's going to be 0 people released from prison because of it. So yeah. So before zero. That's a goose egg.
Okay.
So
why is that?
Let's get into. So now that I've said, and I truly do mean that, there's a lot of great organizations out there fighting for this shit. So I don't want to minimize what it does, but let's say what it doesn't do as well. So there's 6,500 people who this even roughly applies to, which means simple possession that they were charged with, convicted of on a federal level. So there's that. So then there's 0 people being released because none of those people are in jail. Are in prison, in a federal prison right now, for simple possession. No, they're saying no one is there.
Oh,
that's the first thing. So again, you start to go, okay. So this is a little window dressing to start, leading into the midterms here. The other part of this that's really unfortunate is I looked at so they also say, I'm just reading this from here. Will people have their criminal records expunged? Because there's language here with pardoning versus it being expunged.
The answer to that
is no.
Oh, well, then.
The answer to that is no.
You have to call bullshit on that then, because,
yeah.
Ooh, I have an idea. Let's announce a policy that solves nothing and applies to nobody.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That'll do it.
And people buy that. Now, on the far left of it all, I appreciate even the announcement, because maybe that announcement is the first domino to fall and other announcements start falling elsewhere, because I have heard there have been states that have then been looking into their version of that announcement. And so in a weird way, politically, the president's hands don't get dirty because nobody was released. So it's not soft on crime. Leave it to the states and let them decide how to apply that, because that's where the real damage has been done, is on a state level of putting people in state prison for bullshit crimes. Now I got to go back to the other side.
This guy doing a little two-step.
Well, see, maybe I'm a centrist, but it's the wrong two things that have been merged.
You're an alt-centrist, by the way. That's how I would categorize you politically, isn't it?
No, we coined that. You and me coined that.
Yes, alt-centrist.
I'm an alt-centrist.
That's right.
An alt-centrist is someone who takes a little bit of the chaos and anarchy of the left, the far left, and a little bit of the something is deeply, deeply wrong about the Democratic Party from the right, and you merge those together, because what I'm trying to do is make the Democrats better. And so I reject wholeheartedly right-wing garbage. But the right-wing methodology of calling out bullshit on Democrats when it's appropriate, I think needs to be listened to, because our team needs to get stronger and we need to avoid bullshit like this. So yeah, the president of the United States, that'd be like if Lincoln were like, I've emancipated the slaves, and everyone's like, that sounds awesome. And then someone else was like, these plantations don't have any slaves anymore.
He's like, from these plantations only, I will emancipate all of the slaves. Yes.
The federal plantations, no more slaves. And someone's like, Mr. Lincoln, there never were any federal plantations with slaves on. Oh, good. Yay, we did it.
And did I say emancipate? I meant accelerate a little bit of lunch. They can step off for the afternoon to go to Applebee's and have a nice lunch. I didn't mean emancipate fully. So the expungement here. So basically, what the Justice Department says is that a pardon would remove, quote, civil disabilities. So while it does not clear a person's record, Biden's action could ultimately help people get back to the voting booth or jury box, or possibly secure employment. So to me, what that means is he's dangling a thing that says that you can get back to the voting booth, vote blue no matter who. You can get roped into jury duty, to have to serve that, and possibly get a job down at Chuck E. Cheese. So I'm like, that's ultimately what he's offering a handful of people with this.
Well, listen, that is a good offer. It's being sold in the media as something much bigger than it is, but it's not nothing.
Well, I mean, a dog's dick in the back door ain't nothing, but Jesus Christ. So basically, the only other things I wanted to hear from Biden in his own words on this as well, because, it's always fun. You know how much I love my Scranton Joe clips.
I know.
And of course, as we all know, Biden is a legendary drug warrior. Been at it a long time, fighting on the front lines of the war on drugs, almost 50 years now. Just to set this clip up really quick, this is him back in '88 when he was barking hard on the Senate floor for the Anti-Drug Abuse Act. Here's his thoughts specifically on marijuana at the time.
When someone wants to go buy the cocaine or go buy the heroin or go buy the marijuana, they crack someone over top of the head, take their wallet, take their purse, and half the time they're under the influence at the time.
Okay, so as one of the grand architects of the war on drugs, he was the one. He's your alt-centrist buddy. So I need to get into the mind of the alt-centrist. No, I know he's a right winger, but masquerading. But great back in the day, bipartisan support of the drug war. He ramped it up in the '80s. So what he's doing, if you just listen to that little soundbite, it's like So lumping the marijuana with the cocaine, but this idea of people cracking people over top of the head to like get weed monies. I mean, it's reefer madness levels of silliness that don't. Felt dated.
That's the song he plays in Reefer Madness. I'll remember that forever.
That's a great opening jazz riff.
It's so good.
That's so he's being reefer he's being reefer madnessy obviously with that. But then, we come full circle around, and this was the announcement of this, because there's another part of this outside of the bullshit, because we can rant and rave all day about the policy, but to me it's always interesting to play the game of like the WWF shit. It's like, fine, you can talk about the phony parts of it. He's saying he's going to meet with this descheduling idea. People are like, will you just take marijuana off Schedule 1 controlled substance so people can do more studies on it, all that. His response to that being like in this is like, yeah, I'm going to look to some people to start to think about maybe doing some meeting. And I'm like, the idea that he would actually take meetings in 2022 with like scientists, researchers, bring the data together and everything to see if he needs to I'm like, that's fucking absurd. He's not doing that. This again is just like it's a political softball in terms of like, this is not real. None of this stuff is real. He doesn't need to sit down and take a meeting to be like, should weed be a Schedule 1? It's like, no.
No, he doesn't need to take a meeting with all these scientists. You know who he only has to take a meeting with one person to know what to do about drugs in this country. His fucking son. Take a meeting with your son.
Hunter.
Take a man. Yeah. Sit down with Hunter and have a real compassionate moment with him, which, as we now know from leaked footage, he did. And I think that's what changes a lot of these fucking...
Talking about the My Son Hunter docu movie?
No, even just the phone call that was released on Fox News. Right.
Sure.
Which was a very sleazy thing to release.
It's all sleaze, of course.
But at the same time, you can learn from sleaze. And it was actually nice to hear a father being like, we got to do something about you, kiddo. I love you.
What's the disconnect? Do you think that it's the elite?
From
do you think
whom?
It's the elitism from Biden in terms of sending all those people to jail for crack? So do you think there's a level of elitism? Do you think there's a level of like, we're above this, so this doesn't apply to us? Do you think that's just kind of the default mentality?
I think that's just human nature, is that when you can talk shit about what goes on out in the world because you don't want it to happen to you. But when someone in your house is doing those same things, you just relate to it differently. The disconnect is. Do you really want to know the term for the disconnect? Because it's a wild term.
Yes.
But it's matriculated solipsism. It is this idea it's this idea that everybody kind of carves out their circles of who they consider themselves. It's a form of hypocrisy, but it's a form of hypocrisy that I think is unavoidable. If you see people as the other and the problem, then their problems you view as crimes. Your problems you view as health issues. It's a very simple kind of thing. If someone in your family, if a Republican has a child who ends up homeless, their homelessness is a mental health issue. It's not a crime. Whereas someone else's kid is homeless, it's a crime. Mm-hmm. So I think that's all it is. It's how do you relate to it, and that's the disconnect.
I guess I also, the reason it's fascinating to me with particularly with Scranton Joe is that just the years. I mean, one that I've I've listened to a lot of his rhetoric. I think it's interesting that even if best case scenario is like, yeah, they're all working for these corporations, so it doesn't ultimately matter. But what they're tasked with doing as the face of these corporations and as the face of the decisions that are best for them and obviously not for us, is that like they got to sell it in some way. There's an angle. There's got to be, they're actors. You know what I mean? So there's got to be an angle. So to me, what's always been so interesting about Biden is like the angle he takes in this like paternal way. So I'm gonna, this last bit here is his announcement on this, to just see the lengths that he went to, because I agree with you that there's got to be some disconnect, and it is interesting to see how he frames this still after all these years.
I'm announcing a pardon for all prior federal offenses for the simple possession of marijuana. There are thousands of people who are convicted for marijuana possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result of that conviction. My pardon will remove this burden on them. I'm calling on all governors to do the same for state marijuana possession offenses. The federal government currently classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, the same as heroin and LSD, and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. Too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. It's time that we right these wrongs.
Basically, the to get to the core of this, of what my issue is, forget, we already talked about all the other shit, but like this idea of strength of drug equals severity of punishment. The strange thing about that to me, because we're never going to fucking get anywhere at this pace.
Sure.
So the idea of being like, he still is saying, hey, I'm cool, man. I'm happy. I get, makes no, because also we get, and by we, I just mean anyone pushing things forward at all in any way over there. So however you want to fucking frame your political squad that you're with, or whatever team, whatever camp you're in, whatever. The idea of, if you are in fact trying to move forward in any way, it's like this idea that we're never going to get anywhere because we keep accepting this on these terms, where it's like, you know, it's the idea of like, or I see of as, let's just say, same-sex marriage forever. And now they're going to be trying to backpedal on this. Is this idea of like, people are born this way. You know, people were, you think, so it goes like liberals just in general will go to pity. So the idea of like, I don't give a shit. So the conservative, like, oh, they're all going to burn in hell, whatever, if you're moralizing from that standpoint. Other people being like, well, they're born this way. Or people just choose to fuck one night and who cares? Like, that's what the argument needs to be. It's the same with people saying addiction. It's not a moral failing. It's a disease.
However,
or people just fucking do drugs. Either way, they shouldn't be in jail.
Well, fine. But you're also talking exclusively about user end. I think it should be commercially illegal to sell dangerous stuff that people know are dangerous, and you're selling to people who don't realize how dangerous it is.
But who was held accountable for that on any level? Taking drugs out of it.
But that's my point.
Right.
Is the person who should always be held accountable, the crime is not wanting to do drugs. That's human. Humans want to expand their mind and play with their stuff. That's what learning is. The problem is when someone is selling you tainted goods and you don't know it because you have no experience. When you cut cocaine with fentanyl and you sell it to a fucking teenager who wants to do a quick bump so they can finish their fucking test, that's a crime. That should be a crime. Shouldn't be a crime that the kid wanted to do that. It should be a crime that someone would sell that to a kid or anybody. It's tainted. It's chemical that can kill them.
Yeah, I think so. Right. So, but for that level, then you'd be like, so why to not regulate it and to expect that level of when people are on the complete grind to make $2 to fucking feed their kids?
You should regulate it. You got me there. I'm not opposed to regulation.
Right. I figure you're on board with that. But what I'm saying is we're never going to get there with this idea of like, it's still punitive. It's still tied to the like, marijuana is ridiculous that it's Schedule 1. It's with heroin and cocaine. You're like, yeah, but why are we still parsing that and then basing that on what the punishment is?
And it also violates the philosophy of these far right-wing libertarian folk who say everything should just be up to everyone else. Well, then leave women alone about their bodies, leave drug users alone about their drugs, and leave every gender alone from determining their own identity. Like, so leave it be.
Right. No. Well, the immediate hypocrisy on a lot of those is, I think, crumbling around us. Certainly with our generation, those boxes do not fit. So this is where, this is where the alt-centrist comes in. This is where like people can't really be, this is where a third of the country, everyone always says, half the country fucking voted for Trump, or half the country voted for Biden. I'm like, no, a third of the country didn't vote. So we got to like just take into consideration the people here who don't fit into it. They're just like, no, I believe this. I think the hypocrisy comes where you have to try to hold up these archaic versions of party lines.
And then you also have to stop lumping people in with like, I voted for the guy because I hate the other guy.
Right.
So don't lump me in with his policies either. I hate a lot of his policies. I liked some of the bad guy's policies.
Right.
I'm an alt-centrist. Like, it's just, I hate the messenger. So you know how they're always like, don't kill the messenger? Sometimes I'm like, the reason I didn't kill you is because the message was actually decent.
Right.
I just want to kill you because you're a piece of shit, messenger.
Sure.
You're just a bad person. Thinking how dare you coin the phrase, don't kill the messenger.
Don't kill the messenger.
Fuck you. You're the one giving me the bad news.
You're an errand boy. Or was it an errand boy with a grocery? What's with the Kurtz?
You're just an errand boy.
That's the motherfucker. I'll kill a messenger. God. That's what that is.
Exactly. You're just an errand boy.
You're an errand boy.
The person I'm not going to kill is the person who gave you that message, because he's strong enough to give motherfuckers messages. Right. You are weak enough to accept to deliver his message. I think, Murph, you and I are rewriting Apocalypse Now, which is one of the best movies ever.
I think we are. It could use a few, Francis. There's a couple of notes.
Frankie, baby.
I know you almost killed yourself on this one, baby.
Frankie, maybe the reason you killed yourself almost is because you couldn't figure out. I'm sorry, I'm Herschel McGillhill, and I'm having a seizure. Oh, hey.
Well, the horror. I don't know. What about all this horror? Well, maybe he just looks up and says, the lights are bright in my eyes. I want to take a nap. I'm in the dark. Come on.
It's in the dark on here. Why can't Colonel Kurtz just have gone crazy? And it's like no one with missiles is listening to him. What's he really doing?
No. He pulled his own. He was on his own terms there. Oh God, I just can't stop thinking of Brando not knowing his lines here. That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's so funny.
It's so funny. It's so funny to everyone pouring in. And there's like people dying on set, and there's just like everyone's just dying to finish this goddamn thing. It's over budget, all the shit.
All right,
he just shows up overweight, and he's like, "Shoot me in the shadows, and I'll say what I'm gonna say." And you're like, "Oh,
Murph,
no.
for 30 seconds, you be Marlon Brando, and I'll be the errand boy who has to tell him to get his fat ass to set. Ready?
Yes.
Mr. Brando.
Yeah.
Mr. Brando, please.
Yes.
Can you please let me into the trailer, please?
Come in. You're an errand boy.
I am aware of that. Yes.
Sent to collect a bill. Are you rolling?
No, sir, we're not on set yet. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to bring you on set.
Who are you to tell me?
The errand boy. It's my job.
This is sacred land here. I live here now.
Oh, my God, sir, can we just please get you set? Francis is, yes.
Boy.
I also don't appreciate being called boy, sir. I'm 29. I'm not a boy. I went to film school.
Boy, who do I have to? You a young Steven
boy.
Spielberg? Come here.
No, I don't think so. I can't get anything made. I don't know how to do it, really. You know what? Fuck it.
Who do I have to suck for a half and half around here?
That actually also is me. Like, I will gladly be sucked off for a cup of coffee.
I'm overweight. There's a lot of folds. I want them all found, and I want them
you
serviced.
said, wait a second. You said, who do you have to suck off? I'm not sucking off this blob I see before me for your coffee. Fuck you. Put your cock away, you fat fuck.
I need bigger robes. I need looser robes.
Please sit down, sir.
These silk stockings are too tight. The horror.
And see.
And you're welcome, Francis. Well, thank you, Biden. We'll get there one of these days. Just got to keep pushing them left, past the alt-centrist and right on to the promised land.
There it is.
Well, until on the way to the promised land, there's going to be a lot of murky waters. So let's get through some of those with the fog of drug war.
War. It's fantastic.
Listen, every war has its foggy moments of confusion and chaos that can lead to very strange situations. And after 50 years and $1 trillion, America's war on drugs has seen some deep fog. Now, we're going to get into it here. This thing I came across, I thought you might enjoy this. This is something I'd never heard of. This is a clip I found, just some old NBC bit that they did on this, but kind of got lost in the show. I've never heard much about it since, and really more so than just the actual current event at the time. This is from Reagan era, early 80s. This is more so than like what the thing is I didn't know about is the reaction on Capitol Hill to this. It's just very strange. So I'd like to see what you think about this. So here's the story.
After admitting he smoked marijuana years ago, Douglas Ginsburg is pulling out.
I have today asked President Reagan not to forward my nomination to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, all of the attention has been focused on our personal lives and much of that on events of many years ago. The President and Mrs. Reagan deserve enormous credit for leading the fight against illegal drugs. I fully support their effort, and I hope that the young people of this country, including my own daughters, will learn from my mistake and heed their message.
Ginsburg is the second Reagan nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court who didn't make it. His sudden fall has triggered angry reaction and brought on a spate of confessions. More from Bob Kerr.
Ginsburg's withdrawal today immediately heightened an ongoing debate about the relevance of the private behavior of public officials.
What do we want on the Supreme Court? Do we want to get a bright young person, get them through law school, then lock them in a closet for 25 years and pull them out and put them on the Supreme Court? So there's nothing that they have experienced in their life or could know about.
Only today, Senator Albert Gore, a Democratic presidential candidate, admitted he smoked marijuana in college and during Army service in Vietnam.
For approximately 15 years, I have not tried marijuana. I have never used it at any time since I entered public office.
Bruce Babbitt, another Democratic presidential candidate, said he used pot in the 60s as a civil rights worker in the South. Georgia Republican Congressman Newt Gingrich said when he tried it once, it had no effect on him. Even 68-year-old Senator Claiborne Pell, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said he tried marijuana once too.
I don't think it should ruin their careers if they've otherwise straightened their lives out and done what's right. Are we going to condemn everybody that's made a mistake in our society? What's it coming to?
What is it coming to?
There is
Orrin
so
Hatch.
much to deal with on
yes,
this.
Please, let's deal.
First of all,
fun clip
because it sounds to me like the 80s were a pretty reasonable time. Like pretty much every single one of them was kind of, compared to what we have to deal with today, kind of reasonable.
Well, now hold on, I already forget it. What was the kind of the condition that's hypocrisy? How did you say that thing? The
matriculated solipsism.
It also has a whiff of that, I would say, as well.
Sure,
because
everything does,
of course. But interesting that it was all this information was offered freely is what's interesting to me. 'Cause of course I didn't know about that Supreme Court nominee not getting through or whatever. But the bar obviously was lowered later years as sexual predators and everything getting passed on through. But this guy smoked. This guy just admitted to smoking some weed. Aside from his his politics in terms of whatever, I'm sure conservative, it's Reagan, whatever. But the idea that the smoking the weed was like just a bridge too far, but then it wasn't for a lot of these people is just so interesting to see the bipartisan coming for. I mean, Gore was running for fucking president at the time.
Yeah, I've read some books about what Reagan was up to. There's some sniffiness that has nothing to do with weed. I think weed's the downfall. I think there's some much darker shit that this guy.
Oh, sure. I mean, the Contras. Yeah, they were.
No, not Reagan. I'm talking about this guy. Ginsburg.
Got it.
I'm saying the reason he's saying I'm withdrawing is because of weed. Because if if Republicans who want him on the fucking court are saying this is stupid, then that means either the Democrats have other shit that they wanted to expose, and this was his compromise, so he wasn't, embarrassed publicly. Right. First of all, at the gate, I have to talk about what that Republican said, because that is so funny to me, because he said, ready? What kind of world do we want? We want a world where 21-year-old boys come out of college and we immediately lock them in a closet? Yeah, now that we know what you guys have been up to, that is exactly what you crinky fucks want.
He's like, what's the world coming to these days when you can't just put somebody in the basement for a couple of months?
Just to, maybe give them the experiences that they would otherwise get in the world. Makes
a man out of him. Makes a man.
The Greeks did it.
How's a boy supposed to become a man these days?
Yeah, you're supposed to be passed around to all your daddy's friends.
Then
you got to show daddy what you've done. Show daddy what you've done. What'd you learn, boy? Oh God.
No. Well, come upstairs and see how clean you are.
Hitting up with the Natural Born Killers reference.
Right. That line is one of the dirtiest lines in the history of cinema. It sits with me forever.
Rodney Dangerfield should have been nominated for an Oscar for that part, because are you fucking kidding me? That is the greatest, given how genial we know he is in real life. What was
grotesque.
Where did you pull the darkness from, Rodney? That performance is up there in terms of darkness with both Anthony Hopkins and Brian Cox's versions of Hannibal Lecter. Like, yes. That is the most disturbing dad I've ever seen.
Yep. Yeah. So that was Orrin Hatch's take on this. Newt's
Orrin was the what does it come to? The closet was that earlier guy who I don't know. He's no
that's
longer
right. Yeah,
there.
we need to. That's right. I don't even know who the hell he was. He's a flash campaign senator.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, we'll do.
Newt
got to raise him right.
Though.
Newt.
Well, I smoked weed and
one time
didn't really have an effect on me.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Newt. I wonder why. Also, to just offer that.
Sure.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's something else going on here where like this narrative never really caught on after people kind of because remember Clinton was a big
I was gonna say
supposed
that,
to be a big one, but that was 10 years after. That was 15 years almost after.
Crazy.
They tested. They took this one for a walk and they were like, "Do people give a fucking shit about this?" And they're like, "No, not really."
Yeah. But the Republicans tried to tear Clinton down when he admitted, do you really want a pot smoker in the White House? Didn't you just say 5 years ago that you don't think personal business? Yeah. Well, hey, Republicans, 10 years ago, you just said personal business should not hold a politician. We shouldn't be holding politicians accountable for personal business.
That's right.
Only to then do what you did 10 years later, you dark horse cocksucker motherfuckers.
Just cocksuckers. And also the funny thing too of that being the the framing of all of that whole presidency is like he didn't even inhale or whatever. He said he didn't inhale. He's trying to be hip, but relate and whatever else. I'm like, I don't give a shit about the plume of smoke that was coming off of fucking Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein's plane. Like, I'm worried about why the fuck's getting off the goddamn plane. Like, he's up to a lot more than smoking a little bit of weed.
I don't even care that he was on the plane.
Get out of here.
He can't fly with friends. He can't fly with friends.
Fly the friendly sky.
Yes, the skies didn't rape those.
Wait, what
children.
do you got going? What do you got going over there? Is there?
What do you mean?
What's that buzz?
Oh, it's my massager. I'm in so much pain because I've been biking.
Bless you, but you can't play that now. I'll rub I will hop on the friendly skies. I will rub your feet later.
Guess what, pal? I'm sitting down for a fucking interview and my legs got tight because I'm about to hop onto a fucking bike.
That sucks. I apologize.
No, I'm just saying.
Sound-wise, we can't have that rumble.
You're right. You can't have the sound moment. I apologize. That's why I turned it off. But just understand something here. You got Dennis Rodman in the game right now, giving you 16 boards.
Sorry,
and he's
Worm.
Sitting down. He's tired.
I'm sorry, Worm.
The Worm's a little busted here, my friend.
The Worm's a hustler.
Look, if you want me to go back in the game right now and get you more boards after chasing this fat fuck Shaquille O'Neal for hours, brother, I need the buzz. Okay,
I need a little buzz. I need
some buzz action.
God bless. God bless you, it was a funnier. It seemed like a bit of an opportunity for a looser time there in Washington. And you're right that people, of course, it's always if it's my guy, if it's not my guy. In this situation, it was like kind of all hands on deck for like, I just don't think it's a big deal. You smoke some weed, you do whatever. But that turned sharply, very sharply.
Yeah.
That was coming off the heels of Carter in the White House with weed was very loose and heavy. So this is early Reagan, I believe before the full on, ramping back up of the drug war.
Sure.
But that's
once you see the numbers start breaking in favor of Democrats because they're reaching out to black voters, then all of a sudden weed becomes a buzz issue. And, then Lee Atwater with Bush gets promoted. And all of a sudden he's like, if you want to win, you got to vilify the niggers. That's how you win. And then this dude was a hypocrite because his favorite music of all time was blues. And he loved B.B. King. And it's like, you love our art. And then you would use this strategy to destroy our lives. And you know what I wish he had said if he was a true villain? He'd have said, that's why I love listening to the blues. So he's been destroying black life because he wants more blues.
I want my blues to come back. Yeah.
I'll do what I gotta do to get you niggas singing the blues. Just for the record, for everyone watching, if you're not seeing this on video, I am half black, so half my jokes are okay.
Well, that's just basic math. Thanks for clarifying.
Gotta clarify.
You got it. That's a beautiful sentiment. Nothing like the blues, and nothing like the fog of drug war. But now I want to, we're back there. We're back there in the 80s. Let's stay in the 80s. We both grew up at that time. In that time,
sure did.
And I would say that I feel like that time period, the mid 80s to early 90s, was the golden age of the anti-drug PSA.
Yes,
some of the all-time greats aired on television during that stretch. So we say we just sit back right now. We relax, but don't rub yet. We don't get the rubs just yet, but we relax.
No rubbing.
And we enjoy one of those classic PSAs, which growing up I always thought stood for propaganda, stigma, and ALF.
Losers are users, so don't use drugs. Don't use drugs.
From Melmac. So basically, these old PSAs, there's some greats. There's some great ones. Wanted to pull some, this one here in particular, just, production value, concept, because they're working with all the great, all the Mad Men, Dom Drapers at the time, the ad agencies and stuff, working with these, with these PSAs. So this concept here is pretty fun, pretty straightforward. Let's enjoy this one here.
1 gram of cocaine costs as much as a boombox. 3 grams of cocaine costs as much as a TV. 7 grams, a trip to Paris. 1 gram a week for a year, a new car. If you're on coke, everything you work for is disappearing. Right under your nose.
So
they were showing that to kids.
Yeah, I mean, it was to every. I mean, that was that was just on network TV running for free.
Oh.
You know, they give them that free ad space. So that was running all over. Well, because it grabs the attention. You know, you see a little bit of it.
Here's the hypocrisy. Okay, sure. The people who were doing the coke in that manner of snorting it in the 80s. I'm sorry, they weren't losing their car. They have a Mercedes.
That's
they
right.
Have the latest.
They didn't miss out on any trips to Paris.
No, they. Where do you think they bought the fucking shit? That's some of that wee shit.
That wee.
That's that wee.
Yeah, no, they also, I don't know. Now look, we haven't bought coke together in a while. But there's that. But I haven't personally bought cocaine in a minute.
I haven't given someone money for coke in over a decade.
I tried to crunch. So we'll go back. Yeah, we'll go back to a time when we were, scrounging up a couple bucks to grab an 8-ball for the weekend. Now, I was trying to crunch the numbers on this as well, because just to see how accurate this is, trying to adjust for inflation. This is 1987. So 1 gram of cocaine being a boombox. 3 grams, so about an 8-ball, being a TV. So was an 8-ball like fucking $900 like back in the day, or $1,000? Because TVs were expensive. And the
boomboxes and TV were very expensive. Yes,
right. Those were luxury items. So I don't understand, which I do believe cocaine was actually like you just said before. People weren't scrounging up. I mean, if you're going to freebase, but you get your bang for your buck. But like in terms of people snorting it, just jet planes headed for Paris right up their nose. They're comfortable with that. They can handle a jet plane. But yeah, that I didn't know if the actual dollars and cents worked out there, but it is pretty straightforward in terms of like, if you got a choice, it could be this or this. But you are you're right that in terms of who was Studio 54 in it back in the day.
Yeah, I would argue that works for booze and cigarettes better than it does for cocaine. Like I've done the numbers on booze and cigarettes, and yeah, I'm losing hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month.
Well, I love that I love that it'd be like, well, you can pay this, get this overdraft fee taken care of, or you can get a couple of tall boys down at the I want to see that. We need to make that version of this where it's just like, I've made some tough calls in the day in terms of like, well, I gotta fucking get this pack of cigarettes, or I guess I can wait till the next paycheck to get. I think the paycheck to paycheck up the nose commercial has got to be made.
Yeah.
We'll do a remake. We've remade Apocalypse Now. Let's remake that fucking PSA.
Let's do it. You want to do it right now, or you want to watch the next PSA? I'm game.
Let's pitch some for this. Let's think about this.
All right.
We've got. So you're getting shitty coke as well, because when we were kind of going for it, it's like, yeah, you can get a gram for $50, $60 in New York from.
Certainly. Remind me, even how much is a gram?
I mean, generally, the
we
quality
were those
of course
dime bags
wildly. Yeah. I think generally, like I remember paying upwards of like $150 for an 8-ball. So that's $3, you get a little discount maybe. So, and I'm also talking, again, this is like fucking South Philly back maybe 15 years ago.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't really know right now what the market is. My understanding is that everything's pretty cheap because, you got a lot of roulette going on out there. You might
Sure. I mean, I remember doing 20 a bag.
That boombox probably has a cassette tape of fentanyl in it right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that also if you lived in New York City in the 80s, you were probably telling kids, seeing that, you were probably like, you know what, snort the cocaine, snort the boombox. Your boombox is loud. I got to get to work. I don't need you doing electric boogaloo every goddamn morning as I'm trying to get to work. Like, oops, sorry. Turn the thing off.
All right. Well, we'll scoot into we'll kick that one around. Maybe we'll reboot that spot. We'll try to crunch some numbers. we'll look at what in 2022 what we're actually looking at for that, and we'll reconceptualize, because these PSAs nowadays are pretty fucking lame and tame. Like they at least
I don't even see those PSAs. Where are they?
Dude, they're like internet. They're fucking new media only, man. It's not. They don't even have any great shit hitting the networks anymore. None of the fun scare tactics. None of the fear mongering like it was back in the day. The stylized fear mongering of 80s and early 90s drug PSAs is something special. So we'll have a bunch of those coming out over the course of it. But for now, I want to listen. People want to know more about you. They know you're half black. They know you're an alt-centrist.
Okay.
What else do they need to know? They may very well find out as we go inside the drug user studio.
Oh, okay.
We end our podcast session with a weekly dose version of the questionnaire that was used masterfully for 24 years by the great James Lipton inside the Actors Studio. And the first question is, Lucas Hazlett, what is your favorite drug?
My favorite drug. Okay. Now, can I preface this with total immunity from death?
Sure.
Coke.
Cocaine.
Cocaine,
and you live forever. Delight.
Cocaine, but you never get that heart attack.
And what is your least favorite drug?
Cigarettes.
Ooh, cigarettes, cigarettos, cigars, the whole shebang.
Well, hey, no, now slow your roll on cigars. I could go puff every once in a while on a cigar.
Oh, a little puff.
I can't.
With
like
the boys.
Real straight up tobacco with a pipe or in a cigar is actually quite heavenly. But Philip Morris or whatever they're now called, fucking like
J. Reynolds Morris Incorporated.
Yeah,
no dip. Maybe a dip of chaw. Maybe a dip of chaw for you. A little.
If
red man.
It's July 4th, and the boys are just holding their bats and swinging at some balls, yeah, I'll put a little. I'll chew. Ding. If you gonna pull out your bat and balls, I'll chew.
Delight. Hit that spittoon. What age were you?
Oh, I swallow.
Swallowing the chew spit is delightful. What age were you the first time you found yourself under the influence?
Oh, that would be 17.
Barely legal.
I was 17 years old and probably the first couple of weeks of college.
Ooh, what a time it was. What celebrity's overdose death has had the most profound effect on you?
Oh my God. Probably Heath Ledger. Or and we mean overdose like drugs were involved, because obviously it would be Michael Jackson.
According to the National Enquirer, Michael Jackson's last words were more milk, in reference to some sort of substance.
So then if that's the case, Michael Jackson's overdose was the one that made me go, that's how the king of pop goes out? Fuck.
What is your favorite slang word for cannabis?
Oh. Well, I'm kind of a cornball at heart, so you give me some wacky tibet. I love it.
Wacky indeed. What drug would you like to deal for a living?
Coke. Because it's my favorite to deal. Love handing it out, baby.
Ooh, business and pleasure. Delightful.
Oh, I do my own supply. I just do it in moderation.
Moderation. Get high on your own supply in moderation.
Yes, in moderation. You got to know your own supply.
What drug would you absolutely not like to deal under any circumstances?
I would fentanyl. I don't want to be. Yeah, fuck it. If what they say is true about it, even the dealers should be passing out from it.
Well, it's and what they say.
Exactly.
Reality is not quite
exactly
same. I see.
How are all the dealers dealing it? If you're telling me that
I do believe that if you sold someone a Buick, but you couldn't tell them it was a Buick, there might be problems there as well. I think that's more of less about the drug, more about the policy. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear Michael Jackson say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, man, I'm going to get canceled for this. I'd have done you too.
Oh, the king of pop and Lucas Hazlett. Here are your drug users. Well, there it was. I could barely conjure up Jimmy Lipton. All right. Well, listen, you're the best in the biz. I'm not going to keep you any longer. This has been fun. I'll have you back. You'll be back.
I'd love to come
Please
back.
come back. And listen, next time.
You know who I want to listen to talk? Drug users. People who've used them.
Yes.
People who use them.
Yes.
People who've abused them. Yes.
We've heard enough from people who have not on the subject.
Exactly. Maybe the time has come to actually hear from fucking drug users.
Perhaps. Well, until then, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course,
you are the
anytime.
best. I love you to death.
Love you, buddy.
And thanks so much to
I would
everyone.
hop into the acid bath with you anytime, kiddo.
Oh my God, yes. We need to get back and bathe in the acid.
Yep.
So much fun.
Yep.
Well, thanks again to you. Thanks so much to everyone out there for tuning in. This has been your weekly dose.
Hey America, there's no use in sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.
Self-Medicated Weekly Dose is hosted and produced by me, Murph Meyer, with support from Pop Culture Collaborative. Our theme song is My Congressman by 15, courtesy of Jeff Ott and Hopeless Records. Original artwork and production design by Diana Kolsky. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the program, you can listen to new episodes of Weekly Dose every Wednesday. Just look for the Murph Meyer is Self-Medicated feed wherever you get your podcasts. While you're at it, subscribe to the Self-Medicated YouTube channel to see new video clips from the show each week. Follow me on Instagram at Murph Meyer. And for some top-shelf harm reduction resources, head over to selfmedicatedpod.com. Also, don't forget, you can call the Weekly Dose podcast anytime to leave me a voicemail message with your thoughts on drugs and the people who use them. Just pick up the phone and dial 443-MK-ULTRA. All right, that's about it for me. I'll see you next week. Love and solidarity. Goodbye. Weekly Dose.
Hey America, there's no use in sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your